The first half of March has brought with it some very interesting weather. Throughout the first few days, a stalled stationary front brought numerous days of thunderstorms across the region. There will be a video on that stormy period soon, there's just a lot more to cover with that frontal system. For now, we will be discussing a shorter event, the storm system that impacted the southeast on March 9th, 2024. On March 8th, a slight risk was issued for portions of North Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas, with the marginal risk extending slightly further out. The primary threat for the day was expected to be damaging winds from thunderstorms. While the severe threat seemed pretty set in stone for the Carolinas and North Georgia, the forecast seemed a bit more uncertain for Florida and South Georgia.
Hello everybody, it is March 8th, 2024. It's about 80 degrees outside right now, and you can see it's kind of looking a bit dreary. We got another storm system coming our way. This one more similar to the ones we were seeing back in January and February, where a low pressure system is expected to lift a warm front over the state and a good chunk of the southeast, and then bring a cold front through sometime tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. And this will lead to a few interesting things. After that warm front passes, it's going to be extremely warm and I'd say arguably hot. It's expected to be 87 degrees tomorrow, which is pretty warm for this time of year, even though it's March. That's near record highs. Wind gusts also might reach 30 to 35 miles per hour outside of thunderstorms, which might end up leading to a wind advisory if they're shown to be consistent enough, or possibly reaching closer to 40 miles per hour. And with this approaching storm system comes the chance for severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk issued for much of the southeast in the wake of the warm front before the cold front comes through and sweeps all the potential for that severe weather away. The risk for North Florida and southeastern Georgia seems to be a little iffy right now. The Storm Prediction Center forecasts a dry slot coming in before the cold front, which would greatly limit the longevity of supercell thunderstorm potential in our area. However, that doesn't mean that we won't see thunderstorms. And also, KJAX, or the National Weather Service office in Jacksonville, they didn't say anything about that dry slot. Not saying it doesn't exist, it's just maybe they didn't consider it to be notable enough for their forecast, but I'm not trying to speak for them. At the end of the day, we're just going to have to see what happens tomorrow. I'm sure we'll see at least some thunderstorms, and that's good enough for me. So I'll see you tomorrow.
Despite extremely warm temperatures occurring area-wide throughout the day on March 9th, storm potential was still looking rather weak across North Florida as of 4 p.m. The main line of storms had not shifted very far to the south into Florida, and this was causing us to feel a bit uncertain about our odds of seeing thunderstorms.
Hello everybody, it is March 9th, 2024, and today we are looking at a chance of severe weather. You can see to our north some very dark looking skies as a squall line approaches from the Florida-Georgia line to the southeast. As I'm sure you will hear throughout this recording, and you will see my hat flipping around, it is very windy outside. As I mentioned yesterday, it is very hot outside. It feels like was 89 degrees earlier when I was at work, and that was before noon. So it's been a very balmy, like almost summer feeling day. I'm not gonna lie, it's not as bad now with the sun starting to get covered up, and it has rained a decent amount throughout the day. I'll put up some radar here. You can see in the early hours of the day, we got a lot of rain showers streaming over, some of them with some gusty winds and a few severe thunderstorms actually. But surprisingly, in a lot of those severe thunderstorms that were able to put out gusty winds and even some hail, or at least that was what they were warned for, very little lightning. There was not a lot of lightning with them. Most of the lightning has actually been happening with the main squall line along the Florida-Georgia line. So even though it's getting later into the day, conditions are still somewhat favorable for severe weather. There was a lot of daytime heating due to the warm temperatures, with CAPE values at the surface base level of around 2,500 in Clay County, with mixed layer CAPE in the general northeastern Florida region of around 1,500, which will help boost unstable air up into the atmosphere to help form thunderstorms or continue to fuel already ongoing thunderstorms. Low-level winds are at about 50 to 60 knots, as you can see. Obviously, it's not blowing at 50 to 60 knots at ground level, but you can see it's already pretty windy here on the ground. You can imagine how it is just a little bit higher above our heads. There does seem to be a bit of disagreement in terms of the extent of severe weather we'll be seeing. There was a tornado watch issued earlier, but that was canceled as of 4 p.m., and the Storm Prediction Center forecasts a weakening trend in the line. While National Weather Service Jacksonville does also forecast a weakening trend in the line, they say that areas that saw daytime heating are likely to see damaging wind gusts, or at least a higher potential of them. So we're going to have to see what really happens there. I'm honestly kind of unsure on what to expect because a lot of the cells in our area that have formed today haven't been all that impressive. So I'm kind of going off that and not seeing very much, but the National Weather Service still seems to believe that there's a chance for severe weather. So I'm going to take their word on it on this one, and we'll have to see what goes on later. We're expecting to see the storms come into our area sometime in the next few hours between the 6 to 9 p.m. time frame according to the HRRR model. though National Weather Service Jacksonville says that we'll be having severe thunderstorm potential between 5 p.m. to about midnight tonight. So there's a pretty wide window there. We're running out of time, though, in terms of the daytime heating. While there will be some instability left overnight, it's going to be a little bit harder to help organize these thunderstorms once the sun goes down. So we're going to have to see what happens. Though one thing I will notice, and I doubt that you can see it from here, but why not, is there were some thunderstorms up in southeastern Georgia earlier, and they collapsed, setting an outflow boundary to the south, which might help develop thunderstorms in the Duval County area, and if that outflow boundary manages to make it far enough to the south. I don't think it will really influence anything in a major way, but it could help spiral up a stronger severe storm, or maybe help provide the lift needed for a storm to get some more lightning in it so it can get higher up into the atmosphere. But yeah, that's what we're expecting to see. Hopefully we get some lightning footage tonight. I'm really hoping, because this is one of the better looking thunderstorm days we've had in a minute. I'm just hoping it turns out all right. So yeah, we'll see you then.
Finally, towards the 6 p.m. hour, storms began to shift more towards the first coast. We decided to try a new footage location, and while overall much of the footage wasn't very impressive, we did get a few nice shots.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I guess you can do an intro if you want, or walking.
I'm kind of out of breath.
That's fair. Kind of both are. We found a way onto the other side of the highway.
Yep. Oh, there we go. Oh, all right, hold on. I will read this off, though. So the storm is intensifying. It has a special weather statement now. Quarter-inch hail, 40-mile-per-hour wind gust. But the thing that's interesting to me, movement was east at 65 miles per hour. That storm is moving. That thing is fucking cooking. And, are you sure that was a strike? I saw a flash out of the corner. So, I guess this would be good. Alright. See if I can move that now? Yeah. Okay. Well, at least we got 1 or 2 strikes. Yeah.
And from there, I thought we had it all worked out. We'd come home from the highway, set the camera up out back, and get a few lightning shots, right? No. We recorded for around 40 minutes and did not even get so much of a flash of lightning on camera. You could barely even hear any thunder, despite storms getting very close to home. So, what happened exactly? And now we arrive at another big reason I wanted to put this video out first over the stalled front video, other than it being much shorter to make, to be honest. And that's what happened here at home. Let's take a look at a radar scan of the line approaching our area and see if we can figure out what happened. We start off at 6:30 as a heavy shower passes just to our north. This is around the time we were recording the last bit of footage and getting ready to head back home. The line slowly drags towards us out of the southwest, moving sharply to the northeast. This causes a training effect, keeping most of the heavy rain to our north. The first chance we see at a downpour comes at around 7:30 p.m. as a little shower gets ahead of the line. Another area of heavy rain develops to our west near 8 p.m. but barely scrapes our town. When it finally looks like a heavier portion of the line is going to approach us, it weakens significantly before coming overhead. The next storm in the line also shifts off to our north. More showers fill in behind the line, which has now begun to break apart. These move quickly, not really dropping much rain. Another glob of rain moves in, but is not very intense. One last little shower behind the line tries to drop some decent rainfall, but it weakens right before reaching our town yet again. Now, I ain't keeping score, but by my count, that was 6 chances to at least get into some heavier portions of rain and thunderstorms, and they just seem to weave around us. I know storm systems often lose a lot of their steam by the time they reach the first coast, but that was just ridiculous to watch. The divide is extremely noticeable when you look at the rainfall totals too. Areas in the blue and green saw between 1 to 2 inches of rain, with some spots in the magenta shading seeing 2 inches or more. Areas in the gray on average saw less than a half inch of rain. There was some lightning associated with the storm, but nowhere near as much as what was occurring with the previous storm we saw on the highway. On top of that, much of the lightning was buried inside all of that heavy rain. Unfortunately, our luck had ran out for the day. But that does not mean that the storm system didn't produce any severe weather. Let's take a look at what effects it had on the first coast and other portions of the southeast. National Weather Service Jacksonville was quite busy on the 9th. There was a total of 37 special weather statements, 13 severe thunderstorm warnings, and 6 tornado warnings. I will note that all of those tornado warnings were for Georgia counties. Overall, much of the interesting weather happened north of the Florida-Georgia line in terms of the First Coast region, but severe weather did occur elsewhere, including 3 tornadoes. So let's take a quick look at those. The first tornado of the day occurred early in the morning at around 2:40 a.m. in Dale County, Alabama. It was an EF1 packing peak winds of 105 miles per hour, and this one was big, about 3,060 feet. That's roughly 3/5 of a mile wide. This also has to be one of the most gorgeous velocity couplets I've seen on radar in a minute. Looks like the tornado just barely spared the radar site. The Dale County EF1 would go on to mostly damage trees, however, a few small buildings were damaged. This includes an outdoor shed that was shifted off of its foundation. No injuries or fatalities were reported from this tornado. The second tornado of the day would occur in Leon County, Florida, but this storm has a lot more going for it than just the tornado. If you look at the survey report, in the bottom left of the screen you'll see little green circles. Those are non-tornadic damage indicators for wind. The tornado was formed from a squall line, and this squall line was also producing strong gusts associated with severe thunderstorms within the line. Between 10:35 to 10:40 in the morning, the squall line would unleash what seems to be a downburst or a microburst, which are forms of straight-line wind damage. The highest estimated gust from this downburst was 93 miles per hour, which is well above hurricane strength. Thankfully, the storm was over a rural area when this event occurred. The same can be said for the EF1 tornado that would spawn around 7 minutes after the start of the downburst event. The tornado remained over mostly rural areas aside from roads, damaging just mainly trees. The last tornado of the day was the strongest of the three, and unfortunately the one that caused the most human suffering. At around 1:40 in the afternoon, a strong EF2 tornado tracked alongside US Route 82 to the southwest of Nahunta in Georgia. This tornado would completely destroy numerous mobile homes and it injured 5 people. That's the end of our look at the March 9th, 2024 storm system, y'all. If there's one thing I've come to learn from doing this series is it's just strange how different conditions can be over a short distance. It seems like the weakening trend for our area did end up coming to fruition, leaving most of the energy available for strong storms to our north up in Georgia. Just goes to show why you should always be weather aware. You never know when you'll be the one getting hit by that isolated cell that spawns a tornado, or when you'll be on the bad end of the forecast zone. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us out and it lets us know that you enjoy what we do here. Have a good day, and we hope to see you again soon.